So an ELC, an evolutionary learning community, is a community that learns how to learn in harmony with the dynamics of its broader environment.
Doing a transition now from Lauren's cycle, and this is my cycle, the flow show.
Knowledge gardening.
Wanted to acknowledge the badassness in this Zoom room.
For me, life and work is one thing. We have grown a society where work is one thing and then our life is another thing. Combine the collaboration with the social connection and social development and interconnectedness.
Working on a protocol for event-based description of knowledge graphs. And
I've been upping the stakes in terms of architecture and going to the root of the problems. And it looks like, certainly from my Twitter feed, that it looks like I'm getting enormous traction.
There's a technology called topic mapping, which is kind of like a digitized index at the back of a book, except it can be an index into any space that's filled with subjects and relationships that you can define. And out of that, I co-created with Dino Karabeg. We were in Leipzig in 2007. We co-created what became known as knowledgefederation.org. My universe of discourse revolves around something that came out of Engelbart's work that I call knowledge gardening. We can have these tended patches of topical knowledge, and then we can federate those tended patches of topical knowledge, tended patches, and then we can federate those tended patches.
What the future of democracy might look like, young people's visions for democratic participation, what the future of democracy might look like, and how they wish to inhabit that kind of future democratic space together, collaboratively, consciously. My background is as a citizenship educator. I specialised also in learning for sustainability, and recently been doing a lot of research around pedagogies of hope and futures thinking.
I'm building a tool that might be used, be like a way to implement the Vibometer maybe. My passions are in order, pretty much, kind of mass agreement. I'm a tool builder mostly. That's my hammer, so everything looks like a nail to me.
I've gotten really excited about bringing data, information, systems visualization to and from collaborative Miro boards. In my perspective, and in the fact that they have this API, emerging as the premier kind of visual collaboration tool, and have built a number of prototypes that are helping visualize networked and system data. Very biased towards action and creating and looking at prototypes, but at the same time also contemplating that stuff at the deeper level, the kind of like system architecture, data architecture, standards and protocols for like interoperability.
Nodes in knowledge and information, nodes in knowledge space, huge knowledge space that would like to share more with other people.
The mind boggles. How come not everybody is doing this? And this is actually civilization level importance.
The interest lies more on connecting our higher purpose here. I used to be in healthcare operations, and currently I'm on sabbatical. Education is a big thing right now that I can see from my standpoint here, from my perspective. This is when disruption happens. This is when disruption.
Fascinated by anyone in the space of collective intelligence. I love decentralized organizations, exponential growth. All of those different areas are places I like to play.
Or we are building a pro-social network for change makers, which is sort of based on a lot of the tools we are discussing. Change makers. So we're looking at how to integrate the various features and build something. I mean, you could say it as an alternative to Facebook for people who want to make actual connections and create actual changes in the world. And trying to figure out tools to support communities, to involve crowdfunding, crowdsourcing of ideas, finding, accessing information, vetting information, and just generally doing everything that for-profit platforms can't do because it's against their business model. But we're a non-profit, so we have more like Wikipedia's options.
I've been involved in creating the conditions for the emergence of evolutionary learning community. So an ELC, an evolutionary learning community is a community that learns how to learn in harmony with the dynamics of its broader environment, its evolving environment. It really learns how to roll with the punches and change with things as they emerge. In the 2000s, I was working on how do we bring these communities into community? How do we create communities of evolutionary learning community? And so this is where I joined Jack Park and Dino Karbeg and the Knowledge Federation, and looked at ways in which we can create the synergy among learning communities. So out of that came the distinction between evolutionary learning ecosystems as networks, and then networks of networks, which, using the words of Marilyn Hamilton, are meshworks.
Connecting with people and synergizing different evolutionary processes, and I'm here to learn. Synergizing different evolutionary processes, and I'm here to learn.
Interested primarily in how we collate knowledge and then how we make it accessible to various people at different levels of expertise technologically.
I'm interested in social curation, and maybe that has to do with this knowledge gardening as well. One topic I've been curating for quite a while is collective intelligence. Dipping a toe into those streams this morning, playing with that I'll mention that I've been sort of in a self-directed sort of way been exploring is something called Open Learning Commons, which is another sort of resonant thing. I'd definitely be interested to hear about these evolutionary learning communities. It sounds very similar.
Listening and deep listening and deep listening and deep listening. I think most of you know this is a riff that I've been on for a while, banging a drum. It's a core value as well for me, and it's kind of the core to communication and collaboration is listening. Keep breathing, as I said, keep the flow. These are just some, you can call them like guidelines or operating procedures.